Hi, welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak. It's now time for our first discussion. The National Petroleum Company, NNPCL, that's National Petroleum Company Limited, on Wednesday officially increased the fuel pump price to more than 500 naira in different parts of the country. Now, NNPC station pegged the fuel price at 537 naira per litre in Abuja, indicating a sharp increase from the previous 194 naira official pump price per litre. An NPC spokesman, Garbuddin Mohammed, in a statement, said the increase in price was an adjustment to current market realities, indicating petrol subsidy removal. Now, this morning, our discussion will dwell on the fuel increase, and we have in the studio the National Vice President of Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that's IPMAN, Haji Maigandi, that's Haji Abubakar Maigandi Shatima. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
We also have Team Lead and CEO Grand Renaissance International Limited and Public Affairs Analyst Mr. Obinaya Oruakba right here in the studio to discuss this with us as well. Good morning, Mr. Obinaya, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All right, so now let's start with you, Mr. Obinaya. Okay, can you tell us, we all know the realities on ground right now. Can you tell us the socio-economic effects of the subsidy removal on Nigerians?
Thank you very much for that question, and thank you for having me. I think it speaks for itself. There is what you have on your hands. You don't need a mirror to look at it. I've had the privilege of coming on this platform and a few other platforms across the country to share my thoughts on subsidy removal. Incidentally, we've been talking about this for over 2 months, even on this platform, before it happened. So it's not like it took us unawares. Yeah? And part of the recommendations we made, even on this platform, was that it should be left for this government to attend to. Because the previous government came to a point where it was said by the former Minister for Finance that this country was going to borrow $800 million for palliatives and all of that. And we had recommended that you should allow the incoming government to handle it. So the incoming government has come and has dealt with it, and now we have to deal with the implications. When oil sneezes in Nigeria, the country catches cold. Now, a bit of some history. This issue of subsidy started in 1973 during the global oil crisis. And the government then, in her wisdom, decided to introduce subsidy. And it was supposed to last for 6 months. Incidentally, over how many years after, I think it was finally ratified 5 years after by whichever government was in power then, after 1973. And then over 50 years after, we have had both military and democratic governments come in and retained subsidy. The last government campaigned on the grounds that subsidy would be removed, on the grounds that subsidy favored more of the rich than even the poor, and attempted to remove it. In fact, if you check the 2015 budget, it was not there. And if you check the Kachuku administration when it was in NNPC, you notice that they even at a point reduced it from either 65 down to 45 and all of that. All of that aimed at allowing market forces to take care of it. However, when it comes to subsidy, because of certain things that were not done in the past, because of us not putting in place certain infrastructures, now we're suffering a situation where you move oil from 194 to 535, thereabout. There's no way it will not affect the people. So what will happen is natural. There's going to be a spike, it already has happened, on transportation. And transportation has, I don't know, was it Spyrogyra or which one they taught us in school? Which one that has many arms? Was it Spyrogyra?
I think it's tentacles.
Is it Amoeba? Which one
Spyrogyra
that has many tentacles. Transportation affects food, because if you produce in Kabusa, you need to move it to Wuse market or Taco market, it will affect the price. People need to go to work, and then it affects price. The other one also is that the minimum wage, which at the federal level, then goes around 30,000. At the state level, you're still arguing between 18,000 and whichever state, because based on whatever their income level is supposed to domesticate and implement that. Then you also talk about health. In fact, every other thing is affected. Fashion and so on and so forth, primary and secondary products. So let's call it spade a spade. The socio-economic impact is already with us. Yeah, the misery index is going to rise. exactly also because many of our people were not prepared for this. Many of them live on per day. Yeah, and then many of our people had dropped from middle class down to the bottom of the pyramid, which has over 65% of our population. The top 5% is where you have big people like you who live very well, who live on how many dollars a day. But the rest of the population who live on $1 and less per day are definitely going to be impacted by this. Food, health, education, wait for school fees, okay, September.
It has started. I think some schools are just beginning to start academic activities, and some people are yet to pay their fees. So we can say that it's living amongst us now. Now, take a look at all of this now. Alhaji Megandi, let's take a look at the role of Ipman in all of this. I remember when that statement was made, we put a call through to you and asked if this will be implemented and what's the stance on Ipman on this decision made by the president. Now, what's your stand as a vice president of Ipman? What's the stand at this decision that has been made recently?
Okay, good morning once again. Actually, our stand, we independent petroleum marketers, we are not against the removal of subsidy. But the only concern that we have, let this subsidy removal be in phases, in such a way that it will not bring much hardship to the citizen. Because already we have started speaking with government, the former president, on the issue how the government can remove this subsidy and cushion the effects of the removal, whereby we bring gas solution. This gas solution, had it been, it has started working by now. Definitely, most of the motorists will go for gas. Because there are some countries that are using that gas presently, like India and Egypt. And that gas in Nigeria, we have it in abundance. We're not even utilizing it. But removal of subsidy, as far as Mr. President has already announced, we will have supported.
Oh, you were talking about gas. Gas has skyrocketed. The prices of gas in Nigeria skyrocketed at this point. It's 1,000 naira in most places. Is that even better than the fuel?
No, the gas price is coming down seriously. When I say, I mean compressed natural gas, not this diesel.
Okay.
That is what I'm referring.
All right.
Yes. It's blowing over the air. Nobody is using it presently in Nigeria. Just few places are using it. So if, say, we apply the gas solution whereby we do some combustion to most of the motorists, actually it will be cheaper, highly cheaper than the petroleum product.
Okay.
Okay, let's come back to you, Mr. Obinaya. Now, there was a meeting with the NLC yesterday, and between the NLC and representatives of the president, on this particular issue. They've not finalized anything. It was deadlocked and all that. But do you think the pump price, there's a possibility of the pump price being reverted, even if it's, for a month? That's after the meeting. I'm talking about after the meeting, and then yes, if they come to a consensus. But then, and also, if this administration should possibly change their minds and revert back the pump price, do you think even if the subsidy should be removed, it should be completely wiped or phased out gradually?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're telling ourselves the truth. The issues of subsidy, as I see it now, is purely political.
Why do you think that?
It's political. In the sense that we hardly have enough data to work in Nigeria. And we've known over the time that what we've been subsidizing is actually the consumption of the rich. Because if you look at kerosene, there's no subsidy on kerosene. And the poor use kerosene. So it's very political. And if you ask me, the honest truth is that the government should just come clean and tell the people the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And then negotiate with the people and say, this thing needs to go. for your own good. And what is negotiation? There's a book you probably need to look at. You Can Negotiate Anything by Cohen. And one of the things you will also see in negotiation is to say, okay, I give you this in exchange for this removal. Are we talking about infrastructure here? Have previous governments put in place the right road infrastructure, health infrastructure, education infrastructure, like India, Indonesia, and a few other countries did with regard to this subsidy? Is the government going to offer free education? But as you talk about that, ASU has gone to court. So it's a vicious circle. So that's why I say it's very political, in the sense that we should not dwell on having media managers. Much of what we have seen in the previous governments manage this issue. I like the fact that you said that negotiations are ongoing. Yes, I listened to Dele Alake this morning, and he talked about the seeming deadlock. Well, I don't know if I call it a deadlock. I'll just say that discussion continues. They're still discussing. And I like the fact that you also have the head of service involved in this discussion. The head of service, Yemi Son, is involved, because public servants are involved. But also, let's also understand that as much as public servants are involved, public servants comprise just about 5% of our population. And we need to also look at the issue of productivity, how much productivity comes from there. Because part of what is even bringing us here is the fact that we have 4 refineries that have staff that are paid heavily and are not giving us the oil that we deserve. And do not also forget that oil we have an OPEC quota of about 1.8 million barrels per day. And then it's supposed to be exported. And as long as we are not a very productive economy, we are suffering the impact of not having our infrastructure in place and producing, so that we're not just consumptive. So what happens is that those refineries are not able to even produce, even if they were working, despite having spent so much money on turnaround maintenance and not having a drop of oil come from them, and we're still paying salaries to the people. Let's even assume that they begin to work today. You're going to have a challenge, because as long as you keep subsidizing, people like Alhaji may not go into private refinery, because he buys crude at that rate, international rate, because it's sold in dollars, and then you expect him to also come and sell competitively. No, because you're subsidizing. So it's a chicken and egg thing. It's a vicious circle. Yeah. So, but if you ask me, it comes down to negotiation. I would encourage the government, please go ahead and negotiate very well. And in negotiating, keep an open mind. Yes, I suspect, that's why I use the word political, that the government may have to bring it down from that 537. Because what I have noticed is that it wasn't particularly market forces that determined the 537 or 488 in Lagos. It has been fixed by a group of people who are sitting in a room. So the same people sitting in a room can also bring it lower, so that it will be seen like government has shifted grounds. Call a spade a spade. This matter is a very political thing. Let me also cut some slack for the current government. In 2015, I had the privilege of serving as a rapporteur in the policy dialogue that was held before government came on stream. This is what we were told by the third man in command in Tony Blair's government, Lord Mandelson. Said any hard decision you need to take in a new government should be taken within the first 100 days, when the euphoria of coming on stream of a new government is still there. After 100 days, anything you do will lead to so much protest. So what I see here is that a lot of people are going to be patient with the government, and I'm hoping that the government, I suspect that this particular government, may have had meetings in the transition committee and knew they were going to remove this thing. And then they must have planned that there will be issue of transportation. We used to have urban mass transit in the FCT, Federal Urban Mass Transit. We used to have intercity rail system. Now we had the Amechi and the rest of people who did the railroad to Kaduna. Now we heard that they were supposed to be the ones that come from Boronu, Meduguri, cross Aliade and go through Mwahia and go to Port Harcourt. Now I'm hoping that the ones that go to Ibadan and all of those ones that were commissioned in Itape and so on, is it possible we can have more of that? Because you can actually move more goods and goods and people on the rail than on the road. Then the road infrastructure, our people who are doing peasant farming, is it possible that we actually create feeder roads for them to go in? And I like the fact that the National Assembly is not yet inaugurated. By the time they finish all the back and forth on their negotiation on who becomes Senate President and Speaker, can it be put there? And can we, the citizens, become more serious about engaging government to tell them that we demand that when you do your constituency project, it should not just be wheelbarrows and clipper and all of those things that may not translate to much empowerment. Can we beg you put all the money together and give us feeder roads so that we are able to fend for ourselves, fish for ourselves, farm, and then provide security for us. Part of the challenge that is bringing us here is that the farmers, I called yesterday to buy yams, and they told me that 100 tubers of yams is about 100,000, 110, and 130, depending on the size. Yams I used to buy for 40,000. The truth be told, that farmers in the past 8 years have struggled to go into the farm to farm. They have to negotiate with bandits and kidnappers. And even after farming, they need to also harvest and bring out. They also negotiate that they don't get kidnapped while bringing the yam out.
Not forgetting flooding.
And the flooding, which is a natural thing. And even if the flooding, you also look at NIMET's predictions and then the negotiation with Cameroon at the dam that is opened, all of those negotiations and infrastructure we're supposed to build so that there is a warehousing of the water that comes from the Cameroon dam. It's a lot of things that if we begin to go into it, your time may not be enough. But cut long story short, answer you directly. Number one, I would encourage the government to shift ground so that psychologically it comes to be a negotiation. The people believe that this government has shifted grounds and has given them something. Number two, as they negotiate with labor, I also encourage labor to shift grounds. Because truth be told, their members are also going to be impacted, and all of us impacted, if grounds are not shifted. We do not need the friction at this moment. Let's come together as one party. And also for the independent marketers, I'm going to add my voice there. He made a very critical point. We should listen to what Alhaji has said. I've met a few people, and I know I met the owner of GP Tank and a few other people, and he has over 6,000 staff. And he told me point blank that this fuel diesel going to 800 naira was not going to be economical, that he had two options, either to disengage the staff or find an alternative energy source. What alternative energy source did he find? He went to gas. And these ones that are compressed, that are like tubes, and that you can put there. So he had to reconfigure his generators and all of that so that they use gas. Is it possible that we come together as a family and discuss how to reconfigure our cars so that some of us who have the option should go to gas? I personally would not mind going to gas. I already have put some solar panels in my house and increased it. It costs money, but it costs money now, but on the long run is a much savings for me. But the question is, the average person that earns 30,000 naira per month, is she able to do 1.4 million naira solar panels and the batteries?
Okay.
And the exchange rate is also not helpful.
Okay, Mr. Rock, but just hold your thoughts there. Now, Alhaji Shatima, let's take a look at this. And I want to understand that the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigerians have some agitations that have to be taken care of before the removal of subsidy. What are some of these agitations, and what do you think is the way forward now?
Okay. Now, already the subsidy has been removed. But our major concern now, at present, we have a lot of tickets that we buy since last year from the NNPC. And presently, we don't know the fate of this amount of money that is under the custody of the NNPC.
So when you say tickets now, is it money to be...
Yes, it's money. Okay. Let's call it in terms of money. We have over 12 billion naira tickets.
From the association?
Yes, from the association,
okay,
under NNPC. And you know, normally we rely on bank loan. And this money is with them. They refuse to give us the products, and it's lying on them. And now their intention, probably, they want to give us at a new rate. Which actually, if they give us at a new rate, definitely we are being shortchanged. It's one of the factors. Then, secondly, just like my friend have said, as we are negotiating with the government, and we tell them the policy, this negotiation, we have been doing it for the past 5 years. We too, we don't want government to be losing money unnecessarily, because there are a lot of things that they are supposed to do, like our roads, education, health, and the rest of them. We advise them, we said the best solution, instead of relying, because now it's only PMS, that is petrol, has subsidy. All the remaining commodities doesn't have any subsidy. We tell them, in order to cushion the effect, if you want to remove this subsidy, try to bring another source of energy. Because there is a lot of advancement that is going now in the world. Some of the people are even using electricity in their cars. They will go to the filling station, charge their car, and start using it. So our own, we just bring that issue of compressed natural gas. Just what we need from the government by that time, just is support.
Okay.
On the process. But as we are doing it, they just remove the subsidy. And again, we're advising on our Nigerian refineries. The whole 4 refineries that we have today, they are not functioning. We tell them they should either call foreign investors or they partner with independent petroleum marketers to see that these refineries are functioning. Because if our refineries are functioning, definitely, even if the government remove the subsidy, the commodity will not be at a higher cost the way it is now. But it was unfortunate all this thing has not been done. But the advice that we can give the government now, since they said Dangote refinery will start by July. So instead of waiting for that July for Dangote refinery to start production, let him start maybe at the middle of this July, so that all these things will contribute to the reduction of the price. Definitely, if Dangote started, the price will come down.
Okay. Now you talked about Dangote refinery, and I remember seeing a report that says Ipman stated that the Dangote refinery will reduce fuel scarcity but increase inflation. Can you explain more on that? And doesn't it mean more challenges for Nigeria itself?
No, I didn't understand the inflation that it will increase. Definitely, he will use Nigerian crude oil. And by the price of the world on the crude oil. And he doesn't incur any transportation from another country to bring the fuel. Because the major issues that we have now, any PMS that we are going to buy, any PMS that you see we are using in Nigeria today, almost 90% is imported. Consider even the flight rates alone from maybe Russia to Nigeria. So all this thing, if you add that money, it will add to cost. It will add to the cost.
Okay, just to follow up on that. Now, the NNPCL and the NMPDRA had actually told us that there is going to be enough fuel to service Nigeria at the normal pump price, that's 197 naira, until the end of June. And by the end of May, we're actually seeing a sharp increase. What actually went wrong? Because people are asking questions.
Well, I think this question that you asked me, I cannot be able to answer it. But all what I know, with the present situation that we are inside now, Mr. President has already removed the subsidy. So now, since this subsidy has been removed, what we like NMDPPRA and NNPC to do to us, let's have a plain level ground in terms of importation. Because this thing too will assist in bringing the price down. So anything government give NMDPPRA and NNPC, since it's only NNPC is the whole importer of this petroleum product presently. So let them involve other marketers. So anything government give NNPC, let them give that to the other marketers so that there will be competition.
Okay, there's also arguments that, the independent petroleum marketers are actually selling old stocks at the moment. So how does that even affect what's going on right now?
No, how will you understand it's an old stock? Because we rely on NNPC in sourcing our product and DAPMAN. So if you go to any filling station now for DAPMAN or NNPC retail outlet, they are selling presently at the rate of 537 naira per liter. So I don't know what you mean by old stock.
Now that you've made that clarification, I think Nigerians now understand.
Very good, yes.
So, Mr. Ruakba, let's take a look at the roles of Nigerian corporate bodies now to help cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal on our fellow citizens. What can we do? What can the corporate bodies do to actually cushion this effect?
Okay, maybe we should actually clean up this issue of old stock. And also the other thing that dropped. Please remind me the question you asked when I'm done answering this. The president only made a sentence that took us into a tailspin. It is a previous government that removed the subsidy. By the budget of 2023, provision was made in that budget up to the end of June, which was what she pointed out earlier. So, ideally, we should start from July 1 to implement what is being implemented. So NNPC Limited has a question to answer. The sentence that was made by the president may have been made differently. So media managers and whoever scripted the speech need to go think again. Maybe they didn't know the implication or what to come out of it. But to have 24 hours later or 48 hours later, the NNPC Limited call a meeting, and while people were on the fuel queue, adjust the price from 195 to 537 also brings questions to mind. So we need to answer that question. Yeah? The issue of old stock is also a valid question. And he has a point. The fuel is not in his banker. The fuel is with the NNPC Limited, which for the past 3 to 4 years has been the sole importer of PMS. Why? Because of the multiple exchange rates that we have had for the past few years, where today we don't even know whether it's 424, another person gets at 428, another person gets at 5 something, another person gets at 740. So the independent marketers like him and other people are not able to operate competitively and profitably. So they left it for NNPC to be imported. So the whole fuel is actually with NNPC. But the same NNPC told us that we shouldn't worry, and you said it, that they have enough stock to last till the end of the period that was provided in the 2023 budget, which is end of June. So why the hurry to rush into this implementation now? And then, like Alhaji said earlier, couldn't we have faced it? Couldn't we have had discussions? These discussions that we're having now ending in a deadlock, couldn't we have made enough time to sit with NLC, or you just got sworn in on May 29. There's enough time to talk, jaw, before we end up in a war, which we pray doesn't happen. But let's see what comes out of the negotiations, because it has happened, and we're now back to the negotiating table. Okay, so back to you, what the corporate bodies should do. Let's go back to COVID. We shouldn't be shocked by what has happened. Thank God that COVID gave us the opportunity to stay at home and do virtual meetings. Because truth be told, a lot of people are earning below income wage, minimum wage, maybe 20,000 per month and thereabouts. So during COVID, what happened was that they worked remotely. So technology also helped. Incidentally, if you're working remotely, if the energy companies do not provide electricity, then you are back to square one, or is it square zero, with this issue of fuel, because you need to power the generators. And if you're not using gas, like Alhaji said, you're stuck to 507 per liter, which may not be as economical as going to the office. So it's it's a very complex matter. So even if you say HR directors should allow you to cast this, do this analysis via the Zoom platform or Google Classroom, and you ask Alhaji, call Alhaji, he's in Gombe, and you call him and he grants an interview, which I had to do last week. I was in Kigali last week, and I had to grant interview to a media station all the way from there. Thank God the internet worked there. Then you also need to talk to the IP network providers. You cannot be on a virtual meeting and every time there's a glitch. There are a lot of infrastructural issues. Yeah? So the next one also is, you may need to start looking at palliatives. But the person you're asking to provide palliatives is also a victim himself, because now he has to deal with the landlords that will increase rent for his office space, deal with the generator that will pack up and the spare parts will go up, because we have not been very productive as an economy and we have been importing so much. So the spare parts are going to increase for the generator that will keep breaking down all the time. He has to provide security, because if people lose their jobs and are not able to fit very well, then you need to start providing private security for yourself. Incidentally, we have been running as local government chairman of ourselves for the last several years. So I need all of us to actually sit back and actually tell ourselves the truth and do a SWOT analysis on what we're going into. What are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Talking about threats, it's alive and well. We've been dealing with kidnapping. Some people went for inauguration in Kaduna State. Women leaders on their way by were kidnapped on the same Kaduna road that we were promised that things had normalized. We can't do the train, so we are back to roads, and then we ended up with kidnapping. Are the bandits giving a signal that we are still here? If that is the truth, and then we have to still move, and an economy that does not move is at risk. Because my fears, even with this Dangote refinery you're talking about, is that Dangote is a businessman. And one of my friends will tell you, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. And we have not come to Lagos to count bridges. Dangote is not your older brother. So as long as Dangote, and Dangote, for your information, operates OPR, other people's resources, operates OPM, other people's money, other people's time. All of us do that. We are entrepreneurs. No big businessman uses his personal money to do business. He just told you that he has bank loans to deal with. You think he's going to collect bank loan and give you the fuel for free? He's not a charitable organization. So Dangote is not a charitable organization. When the fuel comes, let us prepare our minds and say we don't call Dangote a bad name. He has borrowed money from banks, syndicated loans from banks, both in Nigeria and abroad, in dollars. And he has built, and then he has to get return on investment over time. So don't expect that he's going to reduce to 195 for you. Don't even go for Thanksgiving for that one. Truth be told, that I just came back from that axis. I just came back from Aja axis. The road is not even very good. Yeah? So is Dangote also going to build that road for you? Or is Lagos State government going to contribute the road? You're not going to fly the fuel. You're still going to depend on Alaji to move it from there. And the road is not good. There's one small narrow road. Lagos Expressway, if you're going to Lekki Phase 1, I lived there for several years, I still live there. I can tell you authoritatively that these expectations, you need to better manage it now. Because to bring the oil PMS that he's going to refine from near the water and start bringing it in, you need the road infrastructure, because you have not built rail from crossing Ebado, heading to Sokoto, Karanamoda, or heading to Biu, wherever we can get that.
Thank you very much.
Manage your expectations very well.
Thank you. I don't to time constraint, but before we go, let's listen to Alhaji Shatima Megandi tell us, if there's anything Ipman can do to cushion the effect on Nigerians. Is there anything we should expect from the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association?
Yes, there are a lot of things that we can do, and which we have already started. One, we inform all our marketers to start selling this product 24 hours nationwide. Then, before we cushion the effect, because we two marketers, we are feeling it. It's not only the masses. So let the government try as much as possible, just as I have mentioned, the amount of money that is under their custody, NNPC, let them release that money and give us our money back with petroleum product at a normal rate. Then secondly, our transportation money too is with them. Let them quickly and give this money out so that we can add it to see how we can be fully in the business. And the government, in terms of importation, before you know, it's only an NPC that is importing fuel. Let them allow other marketers to participate so that there will be real market competition. Because the market competition can reduce the cost.
So it's monopolistic, as you speak.
Very, very
yes.
good. Okay.
If not, even now, if we say we can only leave it on one hand, still there is issues. Because now, the CBN devalue the Naira, if you hear today.
Yes, yes.
At 630. And the product that the NNPC imported that they are selling now at the rate of 537 is on 400. I think economists is there.
Something.
Very good. So we don't know when they import it with this rate, how much the cost will be.
Okay, well, thank you so much, gentlemen.
And just to add to it, if you have 1 minute, just to support him and also make a suggestion, since he's an authority figure in the IPMAN. Sir, is it possible to also put in place a task force? I know that we have a challenge with manning our borders. We have over 1,000 porous borders in Nigeria. The allegations, sir, on IPMAN and a few other marketers, that is that when this PMS, which has been imported with hard-earned foreign exchange of Nigeria, we are supposed to be consuming about 60 million liters, but we import over 100 million liters, and we still are not able to go around. What happens to the excess? Is it possible that some unscrupulous persons who may not be members of IPMAN, who may still be members of IPMAN, is it possible that some people, because in every home you must have breakers of pulse and peacemakers, you must always have some recalcitrant people. Is it possible that some people are carrying it across the border because it sells more expensively in Niger, Chad? We have also done a research in Benin and other places. Is there a task force that can help us? Because where we are now is that we're all involved. The government needs to do well. And if we join forces, we can actually help the government from our own side too.
Of course.
Followers and leaders.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We actually wish we had more time to, discuss this. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for, taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.
All right. So you just listened to the National Vice President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. That's IPMAN, Alhaji Abubakar Maigandi Shatima, and also an economist and team lead and CEO Grand Renaissance International Limited and public affairs analyst Mr. Obinaya Oruakba in the studio with us this morning. With that, we've come to the end of Daybreak. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow is another day. We'll be back same time, same station. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman.
And I am Martia Umar. It's World Milk Day. Make sure you take a lot of milk because of its nutritional benefit. We'll see you again next time.